somewhat.
I think I will take the chair first. So, as Julian was telling, we started doing banking system almost maybe 25 years ago. And from there it's a long time. But yeah, banking system first, I'm going to try to summarize it, but one interesting thing after the banking system, I got into a project that is kind of interest for, or might be interesting for people here in Turkey in particular, because we are Argentinians. We are unrelated to the Islamic world or Arabic culture in general. But when I found in a trip these geometric patterns that is very common here in Turkey and many other places, I kind of fall in love with this form of art. So it was a time that I was having a lot of free time, and with my background in IT, I decided to go into see if I could build a computer system that could automate the design of this stuff. These geometric patterns that you find everywhere here and in the Arab world in general. So I started buying books about this. I traveled to some places like Morocco and research. And I more or less got the idea that this is a 1,000 years art form, and when people were doing this design, sometimes by putting tiles together, small tile, and it was so complex that they start tiling this. At some point, the design grew to a certain point, so to cover a surface, they start tiling the design, so they can put it in a whole roof or whatever. So I said, what if I make a system that designs this by itself? So it took me a while because it was quite difficult, and the people who are technical people know that you cannot tell a computer, do more or less this and try this. You have to know the rules, and the problem that nobody did make such a system is that the rules were not clear, how people can achieve this design. So you cannot automate something that is not clear, mathematically clear. So that's what I was researching about all this. And I think I figured out the missing rules, so I could build a system that make these complex patterns by itself. And when I start putting this on the internet as a curiosity, because still I didn't have any ambitions of this, probably to make design for myself, it called the attention of people from the Arab world, and they called us to use their design in projects, architectural projects, important projects in hotels in Saudi Arabia, things like that. So it's a kind of curiosity, because just to answer your question of what we were doing, I don't know, whatever crossed it from my mind, and using my expertise, and in that case, somehow we became expert in this pattern, because this was kind of a breakthrough in the sense that if you leave the computer running for long enough, then the computer starts discovering some patterns that have not been designed yet, okay, in 1,000 years. And it starts creating patterns even bigger without repetition than what has been done before, okay? So that was the thing that called the attention to architects in big architectural firms and things like this. And even in expert on this field, the first time or not the first, but probably the second time I came to Istanbul is because we were invited here to have a lecture on a conference about Islamic geometric patterns. And the people who were speaking there were the people who wrote the books that I bought to grab the rules about this. So all of a sudden, we were expert in geometric patterns. So that's how life in our side was moving forward. So we in that particular chapter, we end up setting up a factory in Dubai, building hardwood floors with huge designs, with hundreds of thousands of different pieces without repetition. It was quite unique. Then we sold that stuff, and I got into crypto 2013 when I learned about Bitcoin. When I heard about Bitcoin, it was very obvious for me that this was going to succeed unless it was killed by some government early on. So I wanted to switch into the Bitcoin stuff, and I did. And essentially, since 2013, I was working in a project, first in a crypto project that I called Fermat, or Internet of People. And I ran that project for 2 or 3 years. Then I got out. It was growing, a lot of people, but also a lot of a lot of people get messy, and so I said, no, I better get into something else. So some other people continue with that stuff. And I found myself 5 years ago with this friend, a trader, that he was trying to automate his own strategies, but well, he asked me if I could help him, and at the beginning I started trying some things, like you were saying. And it made no sense for me to spend a lot of time trying to automate one specific strategy, because maybe that strategy wouldn't work. So I started doing a system that was generic enough so that we can build, that we can try different strategies. But for that, you need code that is generalized enough that you can do also back test so that you trade, but also you need the execution of that. And when you realize you are doing things number 1, then 2, then 3, and then there are 10 things, and then 15 things, and start growing. And one important thing that I think I realized is that